We start with the president's jobs program. Jared Bernstein, who was, of course, well, he's MSNBC and CNBC contributor right now, but he's a former top economic advisor to Vice President Joe Biden. And Howard Feynman, of course, is the Huffington Post Media Group editorial director and an MSNBC political analyst as well. Gentlemen, let's talk about this speech now. Do you have an inside view, first of all? Are you an outsider now? Do you know what the president's going to come out with in September?
I have some ideas, mostly from the outside, a little bit from...
Okay, give us the inside stuff first.
The president is going to continue to focus on what he's talked about so far, extending the payroll tax holiday and unemployment insurance extension. That's important. It's already in the system, however. So if you do that, and you absolutely should, it keeps your foot on the accelerator to let that stuff expire as it's scheduled to do at the end of the year. That takes your foot off the accelerator. But to extend
Okay, so he's going to get payroll taxes down, which makes it easier to hire somebody, and he's going to make sure the dollars keep going out to the unemployed. Right. What's he going to do to create jobs?
Okay, so then there's the infrastructure program, and then that's a bit wide open. The president has talked about this idea of an infrastructure bank.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the most resonant thing with people out there, and I think he may be moving towards some ideas that are a little bit easier for people to wrap their heads around.
In the White House is doing this now as we speak, and when the president's on vacation, is going to be developing a hard plan to create jobs. Who's doing that?
The economics team is working on this, as they've been, by the way, never stopped. I mean, as they've been for months. So this is a plan that's going to be rolled out. It's going to have the kinds of components I mentioned. That you might see a new hires tax credit. You might see something for the manufacturing side.
Will the American people be impressed? Will they smell the construction? Will they imagine the shovels coming and the cranes? Or will they think more sundry items, unemployment compensation, payroll tax? Or will they say more blah, blah, blah? What's your hunch?
It's a fair question. I think if the president pivots to a kind of resonant set of ideas, like, by the way, fix America's schools today, fast. It's something I know the White House is talking about. It's got a little bit of attention lately in the papers. This is an idea to fix schools, repair.
I like the idea, by the way. I mean, it's labor intensive. I read about
labor intensive. Exactly.
Hire a lot of people to go fix the broken down schools in this country.
This is not the Cloverleaf out on the highway. This is the school in your neighborhood.
Real value this September. Parents will see the schools looking better. Here's President Obama today talking about it, saying it's politics holding America back from creating jobs and fixing the economy. Let's listen to the president.
The only thing holding us back is our politics. There's no reason why we shouldn't put Americans back to work all across the country rebuilding America. We need roads and bridges and schools all across the country that could be rebuilt. And all those folks who got laid off from construction because the economy went south or the housing bubble burst, they're dying for work.
Okay, there are the words. Is he going to build? Howard, you have confidence like Jared does. You're a loyalist largely, right? You'll call yourself a loyalist. You have confidence as a reporter studying this that he's going to come out with something with box office. It's going to be big, and everybody's going to say, finally, the president has a jobs bill. The people on the Hill will either vote for it or they won't.
No, and the reason I don't is that he has to do two things. He has to be both really specific and vivid about the projects, but also give people a sense that he's got a theory about this whole thing and how this whole thing is going to work. Because when he gives that speech in September, it's going to be one speech about two different things. One is going to be about job creation. The other is going to be about the whole big deficit plan. He's got to be able to show that those are not in conflict, that somehow he's got the whole thing figured out. And on the specific front, if he were to say 500 projects in 500 days, here are the 500 projects, this will show you the tangible nature of what we're doing. Pick 150 bridges, 150 roads, 150 schools. Here are the 500. 500 in 500 days. I don't know what Gene Sperling's cooking up over there. He's the guy who goes back to the Clinton administration, who's a master at selling and devising economically saleable programs. Gene Sperling is not an economist, but he's a smart salesman of economic policy. I think Jared would agree.
Absolutely.
If he can come up with something specific, fine. That's one half. The other half is the president has to say, look, we're in this period of austerity. We can't water the desert here. We can't spray water all over the place. We've got to drop one drop of water on each seed and be smart about how we're spending. He's got to convince the people that we're smart about it, because the stimulus package has a bad rap, okay? It seemed like it was hasty, it was unfocused. Some of the criticism is unfair, but it's baked in the cake now. The American people think that was a waste of money. That was watering the desert.
Well said.
And we can't afford to water the desert anymore.
I got to tell you, I agree with Howard. I think the word stimulus is a bad word. I don't think infrastructure doesn't work for me either. And I think, do you think? Pick up the New York Times, the USA Today, your local paper, the day after the president speaks in September. Will there be a big chart, top of the fold, that says 500,000 jobs to be in construction of fixing up schools, 200,000 jobs in highways? Will there be something where you can actually see it, and then the Republicans will have to say, well, we have to take a look at it. They can't dismiss it. They got to fight.
I completely.
Will it happen?
I completely agree with Howard.
Wait. Do you think that will be the case?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You won't see 500. You might see 3, and 3 is exactly what we need. If it's schools,
300 schools.
No. We're going to do schools, we're going to do a hiring tax credit, and we're going to do a payroll tax cut. I think that's a nice, tight 3-part package. You're right. If you talk about infrastructure, you're toast. If you talk about a massive stimulus with 100 moving parts, you're toast. I say a tight project that.
How much does the Howard, let him speak for himself.
I say, and this is, I get this from the master here, take a bunch of projects in the states of all the Republicans. And say, we're going to fix your school, your road, your bridge. It's 500. Now, we're separately going to deal with the deficit. We're not going to go crazy on this because it's going to be dropping the water on each seed kind of thing.
Let's take a look.
And challenge them to oppose projects in their own districts.
And here is why I think the president has to be drama Obama, not no drama Obama. A new brutal number for President Obama just out as we speak. Gallup, the best poll out there, 26% approve the president's handling of the economy. 71% disapprove. So this stuff on the road he's been doing in this bus tour, what he's been saying isn't working. Talking about what you talk about, payroll tax reduction, unemployment extension insurance, that isn't what you're saying isn't
Chris,
working.
I disagree. Look,
what isn't? I'm looking at the numbers.
First of all, that's an outlier. I'll bet you. We'll see. That's
26%. Is it off by 2?
I suspect that's an outlier, but we'll see. I mean, that is a very bad number. But give him a chance. He just made a mistake of wasting 2 months completely off topic with the debt ceiling and the debt.
Okay.
He is now pivoting, and he's pivoting hard. I would argue that number is going to go up in a matter of weeks. The question is, does it go up to 35 or does it go up to 45? And that we'll have to see.
Okay.
But he's got some fight back on this.
Okay, let's go to Congress here. He spoke today about needing to work with Congress. Of course, the Congress is split between Republicans and Democrats to create jobs. And that requires a working relationship, as in previous administrations, not the partisanship happening today. This is the way he's still talking about compromise. Let's listen.
There's some things that we can help on. But frankly, we could do a lot more if we got Congress's cooperation. And every proposal that I talked about previously, those are proposals that historically have had support from Republicans and Democrats. Dwight Eisenhower built the interstate highway system. Last time I checked, he was a very popular Republican. This is what I mean about politics getting in the way sometimes. You know, you can't bring an attitude that says, I'd rather see my opponent lose than America win. You can't have that attitude.
I don't know.
Well, here's my view of it. I think that he's got to stop. I know he wants to be Harry Truman here and run against the do-nothing Congress, but he needs to have a specific, vivid, popular plan to complain that they're not doing anything about.
I'm with you.
To just have an abstract sort of philosophical view about the uncooperative Congress doesn't cut it. You've got to have something specific and say, we dare you to stop it. We dare you to stop it.
I think that's
and Ike,
right.
and he could be sharper on Ike. You know, you made the point, Chris, while we were listening to that. Dwight Eisenhower couldn't exist in the current Republican Party, where Rick Perry is saying, our job, my job, if I'm president, is to reduce the federal government to insignificance. He couldn't get from Lubbock to Dallas, you know, without the federal government.
Yeah.
He couldn't. Somebody's got to tell him there's an interstate highway system.
By the way, Eisenhower was the one who brought federal troops into Little Rock. I'm not sure. Do you think Rick Perry would be for that?
Yeah,
do you think he'd be cheering for Ike today as he brought the troops in to desegregate the schools in Little Rock? I don't think so.
I think Reagan would get kicked out of the party today. Reagan put revenues on the table when they did deficit reduction.
They'd be seceding if Eisenhower were president.
Look, I totally agree with Howard on this point about drawing the lines and having the fight, but that's what I heard him doing in that clip. It may not be as dramatic as you like it, you know, but that's who he is.
What's he talking about deals making? He's running against a guy who's probably going to be the front runner soon, who's talking about secession from the Union. and he's talking about putting a deal together with these guys. They don't want a deal. They want him gone.
Absolutely.
That's why he has to
That's
bring the deal they want.
And I hear him bring.
So Howard is right. I want to see a construction, a big thing of jobs. The $2 million jobs program, fixing schools, fixing highways, and put it in the districts and show all the schools in the districts of Boehner and Cantor down in Richmond, all those people in the donut down there.
Yep.
Show the schools that are going to hell. Show the railroads going to hell. We don't even have railroads anymore. And just say these guys are the no men.
What's happening is that the Republicans are willing to sacrifice their own ratings in Congress to pull the president down.
Yeah.
Which is what they've done.
I don't know how. I think he's got to get connected with old-style politics. I can't believe I'm talking like this, but I am. Howard's always right. Jared Bernstein, Howard Feynman, of course, always right.